So,
and that's a good point, because I wanted to mention this because we saw in the past, but even before the war in Afghanistan, how much the CIA has been involved in drug trafficking, how much the intelligence organizations here in the United States have been involved in drug trafficking, how the FBI promoted the drug trade in the black communities in the 1960s. I mean, the drugs is a major industry for everybody, not just for the petty drug dealer, but also for the established authorities as well.
Right. And one of the reasons why the CIA was so involved with the drug trade is because it uses drug revenues to fund much of its covert activities. When there's no oversight committee or government accountability that the CIA has to worry about when the funds they use for covert actions come from drug sources instead of governmental sources. And the CIA has been operating this way, as you said, for a long time, and has been a big factor in aiding the increase of, the drug trade and protecting it. And you mentioned it's not only the CIA, but the banking industries benefit through the money laundering that's done. It is said that after oil and arms, the next biggest revenue producer for trade is, in terms of the narcotics trade, is only second to oil and arms. So narcotics is the next biggest revenue producer after oil and arms. And from the readings I've done, and in fact, it's in my article, Cui Bono, Who Benefits, the amount of income generated from the money laundering and the banks that's involved, and we know when we talk about the international bankers, the ones who are involved with that, we know a lot of them are Jews, a lot of them are Zionists. They say that the revenues generated from the money laundering of the drug trade from Afghanistan ranges anywhere from $590 billion to $1.5 trillion. Okay? So in other words, Afghanistan, the poorest country on earth, has become the source of tremendous financial wealth derived from the drug trade. So when the Taliban was in power, they eliminated the drug trade altogether. So one of the goals was to get that drug trade back in full force, despite all this rah about spreading freedom and democracy and fighting terrorism. When you look at the results of what has happened, Afghanistan went from being nil for drug trade under the Taliban to now back up as being the top producer of heroin, as supplying 95% of the world heroin to the world, and the people who were making large money before the Taliban came into power are back in business again, making huge income. The CIA, you look at the crime syndicates that illegally spread drugs all over the world, and you look at the money laundering that's done by the bankers, in the banking institutions. They are back into power again. So those were the 5 goals that I identified, and we can talk about them further. I don't know how much time we have left on the show.
We've got about 12 minutes left.
Okay, 12 minutes, good. One thing I want to mention, Sayeed, if I may, is the Israeli connection to the Caspian Sea oil. Are you familiar with that piece of the connection?
Yeah, actually, a little bit, but it actually brings to mind, does it have anything to do also with Azerbaijan, Baku? Because after the end of the collapse of the Soviet Union, a lot of Western oil companies were going into Azerbaijan to exploit their oil resources. Is it connected with that?
Yeah, Azerbaijan is connected. All those countries, but I was going to deal specifically with Turkmenistan.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we talked about the Tapi gas pipeline, which TAPI stands for Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India, gas pipeline, which is really designed to carry gas from gas fields in Turkmenistan and to Afghanistan, to Pakistan, India, and China. They are all Israeli owned and managed. The name of the company that managed, the Israeli company that managed this, is a company called Merhav Group of Israel, and the Turkmen mineral assets are managed by this group, and it's headed by a former Mossad agent by the name of Yosef Maimon, and he is also the official. He was at the time of the writing, and this is taken from an article called "War for Caspian Sea Oil and Gas." It's written by Christopher Berlin. It's an excellent article. And basically, the article details how Yosef Maimon, who was the president of Merhav Group of Israel, he was the official negotiator and policy maker responsible for developing the energy resources of Turkmenistan. So building the TAPI pipeline is a Zionist pipe dream that will use the mineral wealth of Turkmenistan to benefit the Israelis, Maimon, and their partners. And they are working in official capacity representing the Israeli government there in these countries. The sad part is that these countries have been under communist rule for so long. Now that they are trying to free themselves, they are now coming under Israeli domination. And Israelis have been working many of those countries, the Republic of Georgia, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, those countries surrounding the Caspian Sea basin for a long time. And America, in its actions taken against Afghanistan, are doing nothing but aiding and abetting the Israeli goal, the Israeli dream of having this pipeline built through Afghanistan. Now, when you look at the map, the closest country, the easiest route from the Caspian Sea to the Indian Ocean to go after the emerging markets in the Far East is through Iran, right? I don't know if you looked at that map, Saeed. Is Ron with us?
No, actually, I guess he has some technical difficulties.
Okay. But what happened, since America and Israel don't have good relationship with Iran, the next best route was to go through Afghanistan, and this is what it's all about. In fact, before 9/11, early in 2001, Bush met with the Taliban. In fact, the Bush regime before 9/11 described the Taliban as a source of stability that would enable the construction of an oil pipeline across Central Asia. They were friendly with the Taliban. But when the Taliban decided to award an Argentinian company the contract to build the oil pipeline and ignore the request by the Bush administration to do so, Bush administration gave the Taliban an ultimatum. They said, either accept our offer of a carpet of gold, or we will bury you under a carpet of bombs. And after 9/11, the first country invaded was Afghanistan, even though there was no evidence tying them to 9/11. So the American people has been fooled. They've been fooled by the demonization of the Taliban, the demonization of the Muslims, and like in Operation Gladio, where they wanted to go after the communists and do all kinds of terrorist acts and then blame the communists for them. That's exactly what happened with 9/11. And I'm hoping that with the work you are doing, Saeed, and the work that others are doing, and the work that my website is doing, we can help bring enlightenment to the American people and to the world as to what's really going on, because we have enough evidence. The evidence we have on our side is really irrefutable. We have so much more evidence than the evidence that they used to go attack Iraq, and now It's flimsy evidence that they're trying to use to justify attacking Iran, which is part of the Project for the New American Century Plan. If anyone would read that, they would see that going after each one of the Middle Eastern countries in domino effect is something that they had already planned to do, and attacking Iraq was just the first step in the execution of that plan.
Absolutely, and I'm very glad for your efforts, Brother Nashid. I've gone on your web page numerous times, and the articles are just outstanding. The videos, the podcasts, and also I want to let all the listeners know out there that Brother Nashid is co-host with Mark Glenn, right, on the Ugly Truth.
Yes. Yes.
I just wanted to also, Brother Nashid, could you also tell our listeners about the Power of Truth Radio?
Yes. What my partner, I'll make him famous by saying his name is Roland Zucker. He's from Switzerland. He's a very strong fighter in the cause of truth, and I've known him for almost 10 years. And he has always had a veterans radio station which played music, but he also had the capacity to have a second outlet to broadcast. And what we were able to do is to put together a 24/7 radio station. It's not Blog Talk Radio is wonderful, and I'm not knocking that because I've used that and my wife has used that. But with this 24-hour radio station, we can broadcast 7 days a week, 24 hours to the world over the Internet, any programs that we want to put together. Thus far, we have gotten commitments from several of the famous talk show hosts like Mark Glenn, Kevin Barrett. We've gotten Ralph Shulman and Maya Schoen from Taking Aim, Rick Adams, also Michael Collins Piper, and others to use their shows on Lisa Albucci as well, and many others that we will be able to broadcast on our radio station. So we will use shows that are already produced by reputable truth tellers that we trust, and we also will be producing our own shows. In fact, I've asked Sayeed, our wonderful host of American Focus, to also do a show there. And we want to have this radio station as a beacon of light, to give information 24 hours a day. We are almost there. We are broadcasting right now, but we haven't officially, I would say, announced our opening as a radio station, but we should be doing that soon. So look out for it, and I will keep Saeed informed, and will also announce it on my website. In fact, if you go to www.ascertainthetruth.com, if you look at the left, near the top, you will see a logo for the Power of Truth Radio, and also a little button that you can press play, and if you press the play button, it will actually play from the radio station. And we are running some programs right now, and we are just about ready to go in production. So we can do live shows, as well as archive shows and so forth, and we want to be a strong voice for spreading truth and information to the world.
And on that note, I just wanted to illustrate how important it is for anybody listening to this. Please go, listen to the Power of Truth Radio. It is very important because we tell it like it is. Because
Indeed.
The problem is, and I'm going to say it out loud, reading the Muslim Observer. I know it's a popular publication in the United States among many Muslims, but that publication they don't go all the way, and I'm sure many nefarious organizations have definitely infiltrated them. I know, Brother Rashid, you mentioned Al Jazeera has been infiltrated quite a bit too. You've written articles about the infiltration of Al Jazeera by British and American intelligence. And I remember there was another publication called Islamica, started